Voices carry journeys from quiet homes to crowded streets. Worlds unfolding in a conversation, an educational podcast, a circle of minds learning from each other. Aphamazwi ethathibana khona aphivelaphi zethu zibalisa amabali indawo yokwabelana ngezimvo ngehlabathi. Asifaya podcast imikhani ikhuzulwa ngumahle sive ngicela umfo wasemamfeleni olisa ohlathi ojambase imfene zimabutho ahlutana ukuthola kwelanga. Asifaya podcast.
Interrogate. Yeah, no.
So, yeah, we are just testing the mics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we can start anytime. Yeah, we speak about. Can you please hand over the book, my gentle brother, so that maybe Olusegun can buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after buying it and get what's inside it, the content.
Back on end.
Yeah, so the book says,
Okay.
believe.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Yeah.
The most. Did we record that?
Yeah, it's recorded. We started already.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. The key to growth and fulfillment. Wow. The art of progress. The art, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Belief system, mindset,
Yeah.
and money.
Oh, okay. Where are you reading that from? Oh, by the steps. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the topics that I would like us to cover. But don't worry.
That's
We got you.
pressure.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure, my guy.
Yeah.
I love this. This is beautiful. Okay.
Don't worry. You have a copy when you leave this place.
Okay.
All right. Let me welcome everybody.
Will I be handling it throughout?
No, you can put it back.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, quite.
I think maybe I'm supposed to get insight from it, so I speak.
No, we're
alignment.
not dissecting the
Oh
book.
no.
Okay.
He was just like commanding me to do what you said I should do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Everybody, welcome to the new episode reporting from Sente. I'm not alone today. I'm with Spicho Makaveli. My
Njengenjwayelo.
brother, how you doing?
I'm good and you, Buddha.
Great.
Yeah, each other.
How's Sente treating you?
Maybe I should be the one who's asking you this time around. How's treating you? I've never seen you this formal, eh?
Yay.
When's again?
You don't know who's watching.
The Scented crew.
I made sure that I would look presentable for this lady. You deserve the respect that's coming
Wow.
with everything right here. And thank you so much for honoring our invitation. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. Today I'm with Lesego Selwane.
Yes.
Welcome, Honors Vibe.
Thank you so much. A long-awaited moment. Yeah. Thank you. I'm honored. Cannot even begin to describe how happy I am and thrilled. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I've never done this, or I've never had to do this with the guest. I'm gonna go through your profile to give them like the idea of who you are, so that I never ask you the common question that you probably get asked a lot: who are you? Tell people about you. So
Okay.
this is crazy because I had to Google Lesego for this conversation to happen. Okay, so Lesego Selwane is a prominent South African entrepreneur, environmentalist, and a landscaper. She is known as the CEO and co-founder of Renewa Creations, a landscaping and garden maintenance company in Johannesburg. Professional background and achievements. Renewa Creation co-founded with her aunt Dinah Kheledi. I thought you were gonna come with her. The business provides landscaping service, irrigation, and horticulture expertise to private and government sectors. It's amazing. And in education, you're holding BSc in Life and Environmental Science, Biochemistry, and Botany. All right. From the University of Johannesburg, a qualification in Landscape and Design from Lifestyle College, and a Business and Economic certificate. Eco Entrepreneurship Seloane organizes the Greenfields Farmers Market, which supports local youth-led startups and promotes green living. Makes sense why you're even wearing green.
Yeah, of
Yo,
course.
yo. All right. And these are recognition. Named the best green female entrepreneur and featured in Forbes Africa Women magazine and the Sowetan. Selected for the Hollard Big Ads for Small Business, and that's a campaign. Former Miss Earth South Africa finalist in 2016. Yeah, I can't believe this is all here on Google. Can you believe your life right now?
I can't. I'm shocked. Yes.
Yo, other profiles. While the entrepreneur is the most widely recognized, other individuals with this name include. Okay, now this is where it stops, and that is you living in this moment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Producer. How do you feel about this journey that you've traveled so far to get to this point where I'm listing all these things? And I heard not so long ago you came from the UK. Yeah, how do you feel?
I feel great. Yeah, I was wondering like what is listed on that list, but then I feel really good, and yeah, I feel good.
Mm.
Yes, yes.
It was amazing to go through because some of the things that I read there, I didn't know about you.
Okay.
You're so humble, you're
Mhm.
so welcoming. I want to start with those two traits. Where do they come from?
Humble and welcoming. Okay, that's great. So I must just a little bit add that on that list, there are a few things that are missing, but I won't mention them for today's episode. We won't mention them for today's episode. But what I wanted to say with regards to
I hope our question will get to cross those paths.
Yeah, hopefully. I really hope
Yeah,
so.
that's what I'm hoping for. Actually, I was gonna ask Ugba, is that a fair reflection of
Yeah.
where she's at now? Because that
Yeah.
profile looks old.
Yeah, it is quite old.
Is it quite
Okay.
old?
Yeah, it is quite old.
Mm.
It is old. I think it's like 4, if not 5 years old.
No. That's unfair. Then we won't be using
It-
that.
it doesn't do
put us
justice.
put us into picture.
Yeah.
To picture, oh my goodness, I think to picture, there's been a lot of development, personal development, and then a lot of filtering through the various things that I believe I'm passionate about. But in a nutshell, just so that we don't take too long in the introduction, I believe that was an introduction. In a nutshell, my whole life is encompassed by the eco work. So, eco activism or green activism or green work that we do or that I do, and then youth development. So youth development is the youth on our continent, although I haven't had a lot of touch points across the continent, but youth development across the continent. And then lastly, it would be entrepreneurship. And on the entrepreneurship field or space, it is Ronewa Creations. That is the baby will always be. In fact, I shouldn't be calling her a baby. She's actually a grown, fully fleshed company, I believe. And then also the development of other organizations. So I'm part of the TEXA. TEXA is Township Economic Commission of South Africa, and I'm the chairperson for the Gauteng region. So I work with a lot of other entrepreneurs within the Gauteng region. So yeah, in the township economy, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Are you happy, Spicho? Can we roll on?
Yeah.
I want to take it from where I started,
Yes.
those two things.
Oh,
Let's go
yes.
back. Still a fair question for me,
Uh-huh.
because that's the person I experienced
Mm.
first when I experienced you,
Mhm.
and for context for people out there, we met at New Breed Generation,
Yeah.
an amazing organization.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it along the conversation.
Okay.
You were so welcoming. You were so humble.
Mhm.
You know, I remember at that moment when we met, I even thought like you're one of us, because I arrived there as a participant.
Yes.
So I thought you were also a participant. I'm like,
Yeah.
but yeah, those are some of the things that I realized about you, Ellie, when
Mhm.
we meet. Where do they come from?
So the humility and the welcoming trait or characteristics, it's tricky to be able to answer that. You know,
Do
where
you trace them back when you were young? Did you get
uh,
inspired to be humble? Is it a personality?
I think it's a personality, and over the years, I found to how do I put it? Over the years, it's like you, no one gets to tell you go brush your teeth, you know, in the morning.
Yeah.
It's second nature, you know, it's second nature, or no one. You're just being yourself, you know. So I don't know if it's coming from anywhere. There's no life experience that actually pushed me to become that kind of a person. But I think maybe an upbringing must have definitely played a role in that. The upbringing that I had. The fact that, in fact, you know, when you just being yourself, you just being yourself, and you're just going by the things that you want to do, going by the things that you love doing, you're passionate about, and people start picking up certain things about you, then when they tell you about it, it's a shock to you because you really don't see yourself in that light. You're just living your life, right? You're just literally just living your life. You're doing what you want to do. You're passionate about it. You're being pushed to do that. You love people. I think also the compassion on the welcoming side of things. You love people. You care deeply about their experience with you, and their experience holistically. You know, who's that lady? I think she got a Nobel Peace Award for. She was in a bus, and then Rosa, I think it's Rosa, an American lady.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
I
who,
see.
you understand, something happened to her, but as a result, she didn't retaliate. And out of that, you know, we celebrate her life. You know, so I think it's you just being yourself. But upbringing definitely played a role in it. Maybe also the spiritual element to it, to say that you don't know at the end of the day who you're engaging with, because I don't know what your next 5 years looks like. So I always want to know the person's names, identity, getting to fully understand who the person is, and not just look at people as numbers, or look at people as you know, a rare, or you know, a random occurrence. It's not a random occurrence. We are in each other's lives. We're in each other's seasons or moments, even if it means I never get to meet you again. But it matters how I engage with you. Maybe there's a deeper understanding to it, to say that energy does not lie, or the deeper understanding would be that how I react to you becomes something that gets credited to me in future. You may not be the one that I reap that from. You know, God cannot be mocked. What you sow, you will reap. You know, type of thing. And that understanding holistically. So yeah, I think it's coming from upbringing, my construct, my environmental construct. Yeah, if I were
Where's
to,
that upbringing for you? Where's home? Like, where
yeah.
did you grow up?
That's a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah. So home. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. I say it because I don't know who's watching. You know, South Africa.
Bones will be watching us in the
Exactly.
with his friends.
With his friends.
We do have international audience, by the
That's
way.
good. I
Thank you so
love
much.
it.
Yeah.
Well done. So yes, Johannesburg, South Africa. I grew up in a part of Johannesburg that's called the West Rand. That's where I did my primary and high school. So I went to an Afrikaans school, Hoërskool Jan de Klerk, and then I went to Krugersdorp Primary School, and so that's where I grew up. I'm a daughter to educators. Both my parents are educators, and I'm the oldest of 5 girls. and yeah, and so that's the upbringing, and was very involved in a lot of things in my upbringing. So that's and church has always been a thing, for over the years, and I guess also working with different people along the journey. Yeah, that's upbringing in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, in the podcast we're big on family, ne?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why there's
That's good.
questions and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
What's your fondest memory?
Okay, my fondest
Yeah.
memory when it comes to family. I've got a few. Okay, I've got a lot, but I will mention the few that I like, the favorites.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, I would say Christmas with family, right? Christmas with family. Christmas was a big deal in terms of how we actually plan for it, what we get to do. So Secret Santa amongst our family members, not just the actual unit like me and my sisters and our parents, but also the extended family members, and having to get each other gifts and spend that entire day together, and look the part, and really not just make it about food, but make it about what are we grateful about, and reflect throughout the year, what has one learned, what has one changed about themselves, and where they're actually going, what their goals are. So there was a lot of intentionality in our family, especially in the smaller unit. We would always make sure that we understand where a person is, and our parents always encouraged us to be very liberal with what we want to do. So no one was ever boxed or caged to do a certain career that they didn't want to do. Our parents are very supportive, or are very supportive. I mean, both are still alive.
Yeah.
I think I'll put it at that, where there's a lot of intentionality around the family unit, and the different activities. Yeah.
Would you
Trying
say
to go
would you say
through
you had a perfect childhood?
a perfect childhood.
Life is not perfect. Eh?
Yeah, life is not perfect. Like, where are you from? Which planet are you in? Life is not.
Naledi, we met Naledi. So Naledi is the editor of this book.
Uh-huh.
She's like, nah, can't complain. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's
I had
beautiful.
it. Yeah, I had it the way I would prefer to have it again.
Okay. Instead of perfect, what are your childhood traumas?
Ooh, I have a few.
You do?
Yes, I do.
I think everyone has a childhood trauma. but
Yeah,
let's
I
hear
have a
from
few.
you.
So there was a time when I was involved in cross country. I think it was in my primary years, and I would, you go in between the different schools. You go and compete in different schools. So there's one incident, we actually went to a certain school and we came back, and so obviously using the mode of transport that the school has provided. And so when I got to the school that we actually went to, the one that we were visiting, I thought that my parents are fetching me at that school, so I didn't take the mode and come back to our school, right? And so I stayed in that school. I knew nobody, and I was kind of lost for a couple of hours. In fact, a bit longer than, an hour in that state is quite a long period, So it really felt like a very long time, but it was just a couple of hours. That is one traumatic experience that I've experienced, and then in my childhood. And then another one, I was bullied a bit. In
Really?
fact, I don't even talk about it much, because I think there was a way in which we handled it. In a very interesting way. In a very interesting way. So my dad would always pack a lot of lunch for us. So it wasn't my mom who was packing lunch for us. So our dad would be the one. So every morning we would always watch what's this, Morning Live?
Morning Live.
Yeah,
Leanne
Leanne.
Manas and
Yeah,
Vuyo.
yeah, and Vuyo. So we were that family
May
that
his soul
always
rest in
watched Leanne and Vuyo. They were part of the family, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we would wake up to every day. So he would pack our lunch. He's the one who would wake us up and make sure that we are getting ready, and with the younger girls, bathe them. My mom wasn't a morning person. Has never been. And then so he would pack the lunch. And so at school, obviously I had a lot of lunch, 4 slices for a petite girl, so that's a lot of food, and
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
snacks, um, lots and lots of snacks. Like, it was a bit overwhelming in certain instances. And so there was this guy I think every second day or every week, definitely every week, he would want to get my lunch because I'd always have leftovers, right?
Mm.
And I mean, it's such a cliche thing. You would think that it doesn't happen, or it's like, this person is making up the story. I mean, lunch. I mean, you see it in movies and stuff like it happens, So this guy would always want that, and he would also make remarks about my complexion, that I'm too dark, or and forcefully get my food, when times I would be like, no, but he would, find a way to get the food, and I would voluntarily give it because that was a way to actually get him off me or get him off whatever negative comment that he would say at the time. And he didn't do it just with me, but he did it with a couple of other people. But then, so we used the same mode of transport. So we had these large buses that we used to go to commute back and forth at in school, and so we were in the same transport. And then what happened? And then so we eventually, there was a day when I was able to get to see where he stays, and then I learned that he actually is home by himself every day. So every day he's home. So it's like a child that has to look after
Look after himself.
himself,
Yeah.
so
Sort of
fend for himself,
neglected, lonely, combination
lonely,
of all
fending for all
those
of that,
negative
so it was a
vibes.
combination of all of that. So it was a large house, and I think the parents were doing well, and they were able to afford him all that he ever needed. But then you got to see that he's actually dealing with some things, the loneliness and the insecurities that I think maybe he was projecting to others. And he was a bright young person, a bright bright student, but he wasn't able to display that in a manner that would be healthy, so there were no boundaries that he was taught because he was always alone. So then I went into this home, and literally I had to search for him because I think I needed to find him because we needed to I think commute, and we couldn't find him. We were hooting for the longest of time, and I don't know where the bravery came for me to actually be the one that goes there and look for him. But because we kind of built a relationship out of the fact that I'm giving him lunch, that thing for me was like I'm defending myself, but I wasn't liking it. And at the end of the day, it kind of built a relationship between the two of us. And so I was looking for him, and in that state that I found him, he was a very timid somebody. And I was shocked at the fact that he's very timid. And his schooling career then led him to actually have all of those things stripped away from him. So he moved from the school that we were in to like a township school. And that was a huge adjustment for him. And a bit of now I had all of this now, and there was a lot of compassion on my end to say, oh, sorry, I get the background and what you come from or what you came from, and now having to move from that level and be reduced to the level that you, as a child, schooling is a big deal. That's how we flex, in most cases that I go to such school. And so for me, I then learned that he's dealing with that. And so out of that, then I grew more compassionate towards him. And out of me seeing him in that state, he never bullied me from that day onward. So it never happened anymore, it was like that moment of, oh, you see me. You see the real me.
For who I am.
And for what I'm going through, and
Did you see, maybe perhaps out of interest, did you try to get help for him maybe?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't. And there was a lot of issues there. There was a cousin that wasn't okay. I think the family had a lot of these younger ones looking after themselves. So it was a bit sticky. So for me, the fact that I was able to not be bullied anymore was great. And it wasn't any longer, it wasn't any more about even the remarks. I never got the remarks anymore. And my mom even intervened at one point. She actually told him off, but at the time when she told him off, it didn't help. Only after that incident where I actually had to see him in that state did the thing stop completely. And I was very skinny in primary, so even that was a jab that he would get to me. So
Throw at you.
yeah, blow at me. So yeah.
That's hectic.
Very
Crazy.
Kids can be cruel. Yeah, kids can be
very
cruel. It is very
cruel.
important that
Yeah.
we look after them kids.
Yes.
Spend time. And the kids are like older people. They appreciate small things, small
Yes.
little things. So you see, the bully was having everything, every
Yeah.
materialistic thing,
Yeah.
everything that a normal person or a person who doesn't have what he had,
Mhm.
but still he was empty because of time, not spending time.
Not having
Um,
anyone around him.
just
Yeah.
to conversate with him, to
Yeah.
ask him how was your day.
Yeah. Those little things.
those
Yeah.
little things.
But I've kind of erased that memory a bit. There was, I believe there was, in fact, there was a lot more that happened in that time. Yeah, but
And I'm glad you didn't go deeper into that. That was way above your weight, I think.
that was way
Yeah.
above my weight. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he made me actually embrace me,
Yeah.
the body issues and also my complexion. I love it. And now I feel like I want to be darker. I actually want to be darker. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Africa is stunning, So, yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Do you still get such like issues with, maybe we call it colorism, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Colorism and body shaming.
Yes, yes. No, I don't. I don't get those issues. I think maybe
Maybe outside body shaming, but colorism.
no, I don't. I think I'm fairly in between, I'm not, so I don't get it.
Mm.
Back then I thought it was a big deal, but now it's not even a thing. And how we've actually embraced, our complexion as Black people or people of color. We've embraced ourselves so much that it's not even a thing. It's celebrated now more than ever,
Yeah.
So it's great to be in this phase. No one gets to be bullied by it, I think, or on it, as much as I think it used to occur in the past, because being light-skinned, body yellow bone, you knew that those girls are the ones that are, deemed as the most beautiful, but now, no, we are beautiful, yeah.
That's so interesting. Do you have anything special?
Yeah, that was childhood and whatnot. And then that transition from junior primary, what activities, like extramural activities, did you participate in throughout your schooling, your basic schooling?
I did a lot of extramurals, and funny enough, at the end of my high school career, sorry, I'm going to mention this because it's one of my proudest moments.
Yeah, go for it.
One of my proudest moments. I was very surprised. So in our school, there's like 3 awards that actually they would look at for your entire high school career. So you have the yearly or annual awards, and then there's ones that they actually park for the end of the 5-year journey. And so in the end of the 5-year journey, I was named the most versatile student.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was like, hey. And for me, that really cemented who I am. It really cemented who I am. It really affirmed me and encouraged me to say that this is the trajectory that I'm taking in my life, to say that I am going to be extremely versatile. And I can't even shy away from it. That's who I am. I want to be involved, although now it's quite taxing because time constraints and resources as well as a constraint. You can't be everywhere, but I was awarded the most versatile. So in my entire schooling career, I did cross country, netball, hockey, a little bit of hockey, and then I did athletics, all the different disciplines, that shot put. I mean, a young, small girl like me being able to throw that ball, shot put, long jump, high jump, hurdles, and the sprints and the long distance races. And then over the years, it had to be narrowed down because now you need to specialize, because you can't do long and short. I mean, how do you specialize? There's a certain regime that you actually follow to be able to succeed in that.
Even the timetable would clash.
Exactly, it clashes, so there's your there's your winter sports, there's your summer sports. So I would be involved in all of them. There were musicals that I would be involved in. So the thing that determines who will be the most versatile. They look at what you're doing in school and they look at what you're doing outside of school. So outside of school, a lot of church activities, different things. And then because I come from a charismatic background, so it is really geared to a lot of young people, so they keep us engaged with a lot of things. So there's aesthetics, there's arts, there's drama, there's this, there's that, you name it, all the different things. So I would be involved in most of them. And then I also did modeling at a certain extent, not a certain extent, but I think for like 5 years or so.
The phase of your life.
Yeah, the phase of my life. I did that and really pushed it, really pushed it. Got a couple of awards, got a few titles. Actually was in a modeling school, so most of my etiquette is coming from that background. I was taught how to pack my bag, that there are certain elements that you need in a bag. I was taught how to walk, I was taught how to speak, how to adorn myself, many things that I learned from that school.
In these activities, I find it very fascinating that you even got like the flexibility thing,
Yes.
certificate or award. How do you enter, if you will remember, and probably still exist even now with other things that you're doing? What would be your mental approach? Are you competitive, or you get into with the spirit that I want to learn?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So I go into it with all of that. So if it's a competitive environment, I'm going into it to compete. Né? I'm going into it to compete. I'm not going into it for fun or for learning. No, I'm going into it to compete. And I think the competitive nature kind of gets the worst out of me. I would compete, and it's proper within the boundaries and within the rules and regulations and all of that. But it gets the worst out of me if I don't place where I want to place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it really gets the worst out of me. It's not nice. And I think for me, how do I regulate that or work around that? I would really just check what is the minimum that I can get out of it. So if I don't even reach the minimum, it's even worse. So yeah. I go to compete and I go to learn, and that experience also helps with the various people that I come into contact with in that space. But I go in to compete.
Are you a competitive person, Spicho?
Yo kakhulu ukuthi.
Ne?
A lot.
Without a doubt.
A lot.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, masinika uSisilisiho a chance baphume itiya yakhe izawudibana. You've been bombarding her with yabanda.
Crashes are coming.
Awuyifuthumeza itiya lapho.
Tell me coffee entsha.
Why not?
Nomculo wakho mnandi. Uyazi udlala uphi umculo?
Should he make you another one okanye?
No. I think it's fine. I can actually consume it kapela.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Hayi uzakwenza enye xa ibanja. Do you want to shoot Spicho?
Ungahambisi uLesiho ngetiya.
He'll
When
think about
you're
this.
going for the kill,
She'll think about this. I cannot be someone. Do you know yesterday we were interviewing Ubabu Shabangu, a businessman in Mpumalanga.
Sure.
We sat for about 3 hours.
Yo.
The thing is, I don't know. Maybe this is my selfish thing, but I don't
You
mind.
want a juice?
I don't mind, right?
Yeah, juicer. Yeah.
When it's because I know that I don't get this chance a lot, right?
Yes.
Lesiho arrived here and she's like, "Can I fix myself?" And she did that. The next thing is like, "Can I write an email? Can I send an email to someone?" And that's her life. You never, although we have a contact, but you never find it easy that, because I remember before this conversation, we had time where we're trying to call each other and we would miss each other's call. Even myself, you know exactly when
you can
when
also
I
get
speak.
busy now.
You understand? So these times for me, they're so important. And knowing again, like part of the people that need this conversation like I do. Entrepreneurship in a South African context, it's not popular and well documented.
Yes.
If people have built and maybe you see someone with a successful business, it's hard that they can teach a young child, how did I do it?
Mhm.
You know, I know a guy who does this so well,
Mhm.
Vusi Tembekwayo.
Yeah.
I love how he teach business
Mhm.
because even if you didn't like have basics of business,
Yeah.
but there are some people that cannot explain how they got to a certain point. And when I sit with people like Abo Lisekho, Abo Babu Shabangu, for me it's an opportunity that I cannot miss. And the fact that I won't be well, the other people can pay, but I
Mhm.
won't be paying for this.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can
Yeah,
just pay it to
yeah.
myself and pay it forward.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
I hear you.
Yeah, I fully understand you, my brother. But
Yeah.
this was just my way of breaking the ice. Eh?
Ah, the
30
ice is
minutes into
broken.
it.
The ice is
What?
broken.
The ice is
The coffee
broken.
penny. Tell you what, the coffee
Yeah.
penny.
And you know what? I must say that it's quite tricky to go back to my childhood and all of that. I was telling a friend of mine this week to say, she's like, you know, do you remember this person? She just passed on and all of that, you know, may her soul rest in peace. But I'm like, I don't
You can't
remember. I
remember
can't
them.
go
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
that, you know. I can't go as far as 10 years back, 5 years back.
Yeah.
I can't.
What's your state of mind like
Sure.
as in now that we are
Yeah.
here? Where's your mindset at?
My mind is.
Are you mindful?
Yes, I'm very mindful of where I am. And over the years, I was very mindful of the energies that I keep around me and the things that I consume myself with. So I know that if I have a vision, it dictates what I do, what I don't do, right?
Yeah.
It dictates the places I go to. It dictates the books that I read. It dictates the people that I spend my time with. It dictates the content that I consume. Do you understand? So
yeah.
right now, my frame of mind is the environmental space, the green industry holistically, business and youth. Those three things. If I can just successfully compartmentalize the three things and be able to successfully devise a strategy that helps me to be in those spaces successfully, then I'm happy. I'm the happiest person, you know. And not just on implementing programs or implementing certain things, but actually becoming an industry lead or even an influencing voice in the space, you know. Like I can't sleep sometimes. I'm like, yo, there's just so much that needs to be done, you know. And in fact, this evening or the night that we come from, I was up around 2 a.m. obviously praying and whatever, but then coming out of it, I just felt like, yo, I'm exhausted, you know. I'm really, really exhausted because now this is like an everyday thing where now one is always thinking. I used to, also I still do, but I doodle a lot. And in my doodling times or my reflection times, there's always strategy. There's always different things that one is thinking, you know. And so the dots are connecting, you know, the dots are connecting throughout. And it's like, oh, this is too big, you know. And so that really consumes my time. And it takes a lot of bandwidth to actually go through it and devise a proper implementable strategy, because sometimes we stay in the strategy mode for too long and you want to be able to cascade it down and say, okay, what is feasible now, you know, what is my MVP now, today, as I speak to do today with or as I'm faced with all of this, what can I do today, you know? And that is the most tricky thing, and quite challenging. I mean, I never was on LinkedIn for the longest of time. And I'm like, this is a missed opportunity. Why was I never on LinkedIn, you know? And I'm only learning now after coming from the UK. I'm like, yo, missed opportunity. Everyone is there. We're all engaging and with quality conversations, you know, quality individuals are there. But, you know, you teach something, but if you're not doing it, shame.
Yeah.
And I mean, at New Breed Generation, we always said, oh, create a LinkedIn profile. I had it, but I wasn't engaging. I did not know, you know. And so my thoughts and even the connections or the networks that I could have had if I was intentional, I could have been maybe 5 steps ahead or something like that, especially with the kind of stakeholders that I really need right now. Yeah.
But I don't think that train is left already. But
No,
you
no,
just have
no.
to catch up.
Yeah, there's a lot of
The
catching up though.
up,
Yeah, there's a
needs
lot
to
of
be
catching up.
done.
Yeah.
So,
Because there's a lot of voices right now, and that's the tricky thing.
even LinkedIn,
Yeah.
LinkedIn is also diluted now. There are people who are there for the wrong reasons.
The wrong reasons. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
You're
Mhm.
gonna say something, my brother?
Yeah, mina ngifuna ukubuza, like, where does your journey start of an entrepreneurship? When do you start realizing that I want to embark into this thing?
Hmm. So never ignore the promptings, or never ignore the various ideas that you have, so it starts there. It starts with those ideas. It starts with those, I want to fix that. How do I go about it? It starts there, and it can start as early as primary, can start as early as high school. And the sooner the better. And don't, if you're coming from a very supportive background, it becomes a lot easier. People are supportive to that. A simple thing as selling sweets, because you realize that the kids in your complex, they don't get a variety of the sweets that you probably are exposed to.
Mhm.
You've solved a problem for them, or that accessibility, so within the 5 streets that you are in, then people don't have to go to Woolworths, or don't have to go to where we all stock the sweets. You've solved a problem for those kids in that space. So it starts as early as that. It starts from the promptings. That's where entrepreneurship starts. Where you see a problem, just like, I really need to fix that. And then if you can then monetize, then you're really in entrepreneurship. If you can't, then I'm laughing because somebody was like, Mother Teresa. And I'm like, did you just call me that? And I wanted to really take offense. I really wanted to take, but I couldn't, because actually I've been Mother Teresa, and now I need to monetize, and that's now where you tip the scale to say it's not just about solving problems and helping people, but you need to monetize. So once you get to the monetization of things, then you are in entrepreneurship. But the ideas and the fixing, that's the primary stages, because you're solving a problem, solving problems for everybody, and it depends on what type of problem you're solving. So if you're solving a problem that will only give you R1 every month, that's your choice. It's your choice, and deal with it. That's what you chose to solve, So with the amount of problems that are out there, choose one that is most viable, choose the one that is most lucrative, and how do you get to the most lucrative? You must really plunge into certain things, must plunge into, don't be on the surface about things, and don't be, how you analyze the problem is important, and also what you are exposed to also helps, and just being able to determine the difference between the different problems. If somebody can say, I can pay you for this, oh, you're in it. You're really in it. And if people don't want to pay you for it, then you're in the wrong place. That is not a good enough problem to solve, especially if you want to monetize. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the yin and the yang about this whole
Ooh.
entrepreneurship and business thing is that those ideas need funding.
They do.
And then at the end of the day, if they got that funding and those ideas are really solving a problem that was there in the market already, then the
Yeah.
output would also be lucrative. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What
And you
pro-
grow into it. Some
Yeah.
people hit the jackpot very early.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kudos to them,
to
and
them,
it's so
yeah.
exciting. And you can see the gratification is earlier on, and it validates them.
Yeah.
But if they don't learn certain things in that time, it can be taken away, So I think you want to be able to also still learn in that time to say, okay, fine, how do I move from this enterprise to another one and still duplicate what I did? Entrepreneurship is logical, very logical. I put R1, I buy something, and I sell it at 2 rand. It's simple. It's very logical, and I think, yes, I'm not an expert, I have made a lot of mistakes. There are things that I'm not even proud of to even mention. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll go into that,
Yeah,
later on in the
yeah.
conversation. But yay, it's logical. And I think maybe some people miss it because it's so simple. Some things feeling simple, you miss them because, heck, but then you want to complicate it, but it's simple.
Yeah, someone we interviewed on this Ascension tour earlier said that they are in the art and music business. They said they're busy cooking something, their production and whatnot. what the trick they found is that keep it simple,
Yeah.
keep it tangible,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
catchy,
Yes.
and tasteful.
Yeah.
Ibe
Yeah.
palatable is the
Ibe
right word
palatable.
I was
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
That's the trick. Keep it,
Yeah.
stick to the basics,
Yes.
and then be flexible and palatable and easy on the
Kakhulu.
eye, easy on the ear, easy on the tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
covering.
another way, sorry to interrupt, another way to look at it is, you know, when sitengisa amagwinya,
Yeah.
you know, why do people always have customers queuing? You know, so you must always ask yourself, how do you, with your business, how can you have people queuing for what you have? And once you get that answer, you're gone.
Yeah.
Once
that's
you
so
get
true.
that answer, you're gone.
Oh, yeah.
People must be queuing for what you want. And once you see people leaving, then you must go and validate, go and change, go and twig a few things. And don't be scared to move from something that's not working. And I think that's where I'm kind of at. I think I've been there for a couple of months, maybe even a year plus, where I'm just like, I'm not having the right people queuing up, you see. Yeah.
What problems are you solving now?
What problems am I solving now? Whew. The problems that I'm solving is, number one, I'm solving people don't know how to look after their gardens. That's a problem that I'm solving. And they don't have the right teams, you know, on board to actually do that for them. And there's a security risk. There is that thing of, you know, everybody thinks gardening is easy. You know, I just get a spade, neforki, and just do the work. It's not as simple as that, you know.
I'm one of those people.
Uyazenzela wena.
Uyazenzela, ne?
Uyandazi.
Yeah, that's one of the problems that we are solving, to say, for somebody that is not scared to pay for it, we'll get it done properly for you. Babo. And then another problem that we are solving is, how do you demystify the various things that we are hearing about the green industry? You know, like simple things like, how does one navigate the space? What are the opportunities in the space? How, you know, what are the things that can be done, or what entrepreneurial opportunities can be accessed, you know, in the green space? Because young people go green, da, da, da. But how?
What does going
Yeah,
green
what
mean?
does going green really mean? You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's another problem that we are solving. So yeah, I think two main problems, and I guess also just developing young people, like how you package yourself is important. Very important, yeah.
I want us to go in to detail about that. I think
Yeah.
we can cover that on wellness, because
Okay.
that's something that I want us to talk about.
Okay,
I
great.
know you're very big on it. Would you agree that it falls under that, right?
Yes, it's fine. Yeah.
So I want to ask this question: what's the revelation you had on the entrepreneurship once you were in it, compared maybe to when you started? I normally say this, and people that watch this podcast
Yeah.
will know. When I started, I thought it was about money. Getting it right is around money. And then later I realized, I'm like, actually, people are more important than this money that I'm actually going after.
Wow.
Because that in my business would mean, like, I do this service quick so that I move to the next person, and not looking back if the person behind me is smiling or not. So I realized, like, people were so important in business. And for you, what was that revelation?
Wow. So for me, I think that's one of them, that people is very critical, you know, and not just client centric, but also people in the organization, very important. Because if the people inside are not empowered to do what you want them to do, then you always find yourself in a loop. You're always starting all over again, and you lose money, you know, if you don't really focus on the people inside. And also, okay, so the revelation that I learned, so now coming to what I really want to share, is that it's hard work. It's hard work. So I'd always say, so my business partner, Dina, she's 9 years older than me, and she's my aunt, like you read earlier on. And I would always say, yo, you know what? I've sacrificed so much for this company. When am I going to start living my life? When am I really going to start living my life where I'm just like not about working in the business and splitting how much time I spend working in it and how much time I spend working on it. So I think when you tip the tail or tip the scale, sorry, you really need to tip the scale very earlier on. Don't tip the scale late, because then you realize that what you have been doing over the years, it becomes second nature, and you've created a culture without you not even knowing.
Sure.
You've created a culture without you not even knowing. Simple things. Simple things. How do you report your finances? Because you didn't focus on it in the beginning. Now the culture is so entrenched. And now when you start changing things, you can't even articulate what you're trying to say. Because now in your articulation, you're also bogged down by what has been a norm. What has been a norm, even how you behave, how you even present that thing. Now people are like, why are you shouting at us all of a sudden? Because there has never been a culture in the company where you are coming as a CEO. It has never been. You've just been about, okay, developing people. Oh, okay, you're compassionate. Oh, okay, so you must fix things earlier on. Work on the business earlier on. Across, whatever it is, work on the business earlier on. Spend more time working on it, because it will save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of time. It'll save you even heartache. Sometimes you lose people in the business and you're like, yo, I've lost such a good asset.
Yeah.
But because you didn't work on a system that enables you, that when the asset is gone, things still function.
Yeah.
Things still function when the person is gone. Now the person is gone. You've built that very close-knit relationship. Now you're like, oh, where do I go? Who am I gonna find? Where am I gonna find that person again? And it's painful, because the difference between you and the company, if you don't make that distinction very early, you become the company, and you don't want that. You don't want that, because you're just like, I'm tired. I'm tired. And you want to be able to say the company functions there by itself, right there, at the far end there, and people just report and do what they need to do. And systems govern the people, not people govern the people. Jenna,
Systems. Oh, yeah.
systems should be the ones that govern the people.
Which is the hardest thing to build, right?
Yes.
That's the hard work you're talking about.
Order is painful. I learned that from Kulufelo, just by the way. Order is so painful. Order is, down to what you do when you wake up. And on a personal level, order is painful. You're tired. The alarm is there to snooze or to dismiss. To snooze or to dismiss, and you're wasting time. You're running late. Order is painful. But once you get it, then you'll be there at the Maldives and people are working, We want that life.
How do you deal with that loss of that good asset that you cultivated in a form of an employee?
Yeah.
You can tie it up in that question with also, I know you cannot get this absolutely right, but chances of employing right.
Yeah.
Right? How do you deal with the emotions of a loss? Because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Knowing all the resources that you invested, I see resources, emotional expenses.
Yeah.
It's so much, it's so much unbearable
Yeah.
sometimes. How do you deal with that?
Whoa. So there's a mentor of mine. I'm gonna mention him, Mr. Abed Tau. So he wrote a book.
Hello, Mr. Abed.
Hello, Mr. Abed. He is exceptional, okay, so he's exceptional. Okay, so when we were starting off, I think earlier on in the business, and we lost one of our key employees, and I was in his office at the time, and he's like, bring it in, Lesego, bring it in. And I cried, in that moment. I cried so much. And I'm like, why are people leaving? Da, 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 da. And it was the first person that left our company. And the first person that I think I taught everything I know, And I'm self-taught, just by the way. I did not, you mentioned that UJ, whatever, that was very brief, because you really learn. We say in business, you've paid school fees. So you paid school fees by the different experiences that you go through. So I've really paid school fees. So when we lost this person, it was so painful. And he's like, just bring it in. I cried, bring it in. So I cried. And then he's like, you know what? You don't own anyone. Never forget this. You don't own anyone. And you think you know it till it happens, When it happens, you realize, actually, I don't own anyone. Even my children, if I have children, or when I'm going to have children later on in life, I will not own them. I'm just a steward over them, as God has placed me to actually carry them into this life. But then from that day onwards, I realized that, yes, I do not own anyone. And he then said, if somebody can be employed, maybe in a better organization, by you actually having them come through your hands, you must pat yourself in the shoulder, to say that you've really done well. That person, they did not know anything. They've come into your organization. They've learned all that they have learned. We wear different hats in small businesses. You'll be the finance, you'll be the admin, you'll be the PR, you'll be many things. You'll be the marketing.
Director,
and so out of that, this person has now become really good, and they've become the preferred, person to lend that role. So that's what you need to celebrate. And that really helped, because it gave me a different perspective to things, to say that in as much, even we joke and say, oh, maybe we are a recruitment agency, because people come out and they go and
I almost missed that.
yeah. Maybe we are a recruitment
I want to laugh it so bad.
Maybe we are a recruitment agency. We train you, and then you leave.
Oh,
you know?
no.
And so we had to really sit back and say, but how then can we extend the retention? The retention shouldn't be 2 years. And I think over the years, we've kind of worked on it to say, how do we extend the retention? And some of the things that we do intentionally is people need to understand the vision of the organization. And also, what do they stand to gain? Soft skills can never be bought. And also, how do we create, I think sometimes we miss it from time to time, but then how do we create something that is so difficult to say, I am not going to go for that option. I'm not going to miss out on that option. So the culture, different people that come from different organizations, the biggest thing that they say to us is, what's your culture looking like? And immediately when we tell them about our culture, they're like, oh, I really want to be a part of this business. I really want to be a part of this organization. And so sometimes it really isn't about the money. It is also about the culture. It's also about what else do you offer a person for their own personal growth, because they have. So we always ask this question in our interviews: where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? And most people say, I'm going to start a business. And we're like, yo, you want to start a business? How do you say that in an interview? But over the years, we were like, actually, we want entrepreneurial mindset people in the organization, because we solve problems every day. So that for us is a huge asset. And so when they come in and they solve the problems that we have in the organization, and they start something later on, we're like, kudos to you. It's good, And sometimes they're like, okay, let's stay longer, because then we offer different things that they can do within and they become a part of it. And they're like, actually, then they're tattooed, with this green vision or this, because they see it, and it's attainable, and it's something that is very fulfilling, measuring impact at a personal level. And you say, I did that project, I was involved in that. I think no corporate can give you that. Most of these corporates, they turn very slowly. So as they turn very slowly, so we're ordering something, just by the way. So as they turn very slowly, you're not given that opportunity to say, I've contributed positively to the various projects, even maybe in your community or wherever else.
You've said a mouthful.
I have.
You're so amazing.
I talk too
Do you
much.
know that? No,
Emma,
you
I
don't
talk
talk
too
too much.
much.
You're so amazing.
We are schooling everyone. Yeah, I hope that the viewers and the subscribers are taking notes and
Oh,
they
Bloemfontein will love us for
interact.
this.
Yeah, actually, the whole world would love this one. We are going green.
definitely.
We are going green.
Hello,
Yeah.
Mr.
So
Ramaphosa.
yeah,
Yes.
we've been yes, I've been making notes up and we've
Ngiyabona
been
nencwadi yakho
flowing.
igcwele.
And ngiyaqala ukugcwala kanye.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, I just hope the viewers and everyone at wherever they are watching this and listening at this, they are also taking notes and engaging, comment and ask questions. We are living in the social media era. We are interacting, we are engaging. We might
Yeah.
not be physically connected, but on the net we are connected. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've said a mouthful, but yeah, systems. Because my first question was about what problems are you solving. You told
Yeah.
me about the green. Going green. Green. I want to say it the way you are saying it, the green field. Ne?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. The innovations around that and whatnot. Later on,
Thank you so much, sir.
this conversation
Do
will
you
go.
need
Yeah.
anything?
Now, what systems have you put in place? Like, what systems are you putting in place for this greenfield
Yeah.
venture that you are going through? Because
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a mouthful. I love that question. So what systems are we or am I putting in place?
Yeah.
I think personally, I'm putting in a CRM system. So because of the various key players in the space, you want to be able. So this is what was dropped in my spirit. So God was like, go print an African map and go put people's names in all the various countries on the African continent. So I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people in a very short period of time, and all these people are decision makers, every one of them. So I'm plotting them out in the various countries, and also so there was a video that I watched it's one lady that I really love. I just forgot her name. Maybe I'll just tell you and you can edit it and put it in. I would recommend people to actually follow her. She's a Nigerian entrepreneur. And so she says that she was in an MBA class, and she wasn't in her country, Nigeria, but then she was somewhere. I don't know, can't remember. And so towards the end of that MBA, I mean, these are like CEOs of listed companies and large enterprises. And I think somebody then asked in that session to say, okay, I hear that we've been taught about all these various things about how to develop and grow our businesses and go across borders and all of that, but no one is talking about how we can help each other in this room. In this room. No one is talking about that. And once they changed, they realized that all the things that all those people wanted to do can be solved by all the people that are in that room.
Oh, yeah.
In that room. They didn't even have to go outside. So your social capital is money. Your social, so that's why I was like, that revelation that you have, I feel the same way to say people is so important. That Apostle Joshua Salmon speaks about destiny helpers, to say that you must know them. There are people that have names that will help you. Numbers 3:5 or 5:3. They are those people. They have names. They will assist you. They will empower you. They will support you. So those names are very important. So that's a system that I'm putting in place. How do I manage the relationships that I have, and not manage it with that aim, I want to get something out of the people. People who are resourced, in different ways. They don't like you coming to them and say, oh, can you please help me with this? Can you give me $1 million? They don't like that. It's really about relationships more than anything. So if I can come to somebody's daughter's wedding and maybe somebody come and visit me when I'm in hospital, that translates better than anything else, so relationships and authentic relationships, I must know you for who you truly are. Another mentor once said that in this whole thing, rashelana,
Yeah. Yeah.
we are what's the English word,
Courting.
we are courting, we are courting. And so when a guy courts a woman, they do it over an extended time or period. They
Yeah.
don't just do it at that moment you think, okay, she's going to say yes immediately. No, it takes a while. So you must get to know her, you study her roots, all of those things. So even in this relationship management, you want to truly understand and know people authentically. And I mean, you all are passionate about similar things. So if you can help each other to achieve that, what greater way to do it with friends,
Yeah.
So yeah, it must be about friendship more than anything.
And those relationships turn out very, very like nice and organic. That start
Yes.
professional and end up like being family or even
Yes.
friends.
Or even
Ended up
friends.
knowing
Yeah.
Sive's wife birthday. You see
Yes,
those things.
know?
You send that birthday wish straight to them, not
Mhm.
even via
Via usive,
yeah,
yes. And
things
then
like that. They're so nice, man. Yeah,
yes,
ended up
yes.
having like family friends
Mhm,
as
mhm.
time goes on.
And it's not deep, it's not heavy. You don't feel like somebody's coming at you,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
they're gonna leave
Yeah.
after that.
And
Yeah.
even interacting with them or engaging with them, you don't feel like you are losing yourself or you are
Yes.
pouring on from an empty cup.
Cup,
It
yeah.
becomes flawless. And shit.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it becomes
Yeah.
flawless. Thank you so much. It becomes flawless. I love that.
um when we speak about people, we can't speak about we cannot speak about people and not speak about the difficult conversations that are not we're not having. I remember, I don't know if you know Louis Hughes.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know him.
The podcaster,
Yeah, interviewed the other guy, and this guy said something that was crazy, and I resonated with it so much. He said a lot of businesses fail because they are living